Hey everybody, Mr. Traveler here, and thank you so much for tuning in today. If you do us a great big favor, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you know when we upload videos or go live. We thank you for all the love and support. All right, so let's tackle one of the biggest questions that we get asked. Every week we get this question several times a week, and that is, do I need a passport to go on my cruise? And so we are going to tackle that question and the things around it today. But let me start off with my public service announcement, which is get a passport. It is the biggest investment ever. So if you're age 16 and up, that passport is good for 10 years. It costs you about $165, which works out to about 4.5 cents a day. If you're a newborn up to 15, that passport is good for 5 years and it costs you $135, which is about a little bit over 7 cents a day if you break down the math. This is a great investment because you're going on your trip now, but don't you think you're going to do another trip in the next 10 years? I think that you will. And you'll find that having a passport is so much more easier when you're getting on and off the cruises. They have a lot of the ports have the new technology now where they just have the facial recognition and you just walk up, it looks at your face and you get a green light to go. I mean, it is so easy now, it is ridiculous. We have literally went from the deck of the cruise ship to the trunk of our car in 10 minutes with the new technology that they have surrounding the passports. If you have a birth certificate, you're going to have to wait in another line over there and it could take you a little bit longer. Do the passport. It'll save you so much time and hassle. So please do the passport. All right, so let's tackle the question. And do I need a passport to cruise? And the short answer is no. But let's dive into that a little bit. So if you are on a closed loop cruise from the United States, that is, your cruise begins and ends in the United States, you can travel with a passport. The passport has to be a state issue passport and it has to have a seal or a stamp or some kind of official notification on the birth certificate. You do not want to bring photocopies or anything like that. Bring that original. It can be an original copy from the State Department, but from your state, excuse me. But it needs to be a state-issued birth certificate with a stamp or a seal. If you're coming from Puerto Rico and your birth certificate is before July 2010, those birth certificates are actually considered to be invalid now. And you're going to have to go on the website and apply for a new birth certificate. Apparently there was a lot of fraud with people getting U.S. passports using Puerto Rican birth certificates prior to 2010. And I found that out the hard way when I had some clients that were born in Puerto Rico and we had to go through this whole thing. So make sure if you are from Puerto Rico that you have your new birth certificate from Puerto Rico reissued if you have it before 2010. So in addition to your birth certificate, you're going to need an official ID, so a driver's license or a state ID from wherever you reside. And then, pretty soon we're going to have the real ID, which right now is May 7th, 2025, but that may get pushed back again. But right now, your regular driver's license or state ID will do. All right, so let's talk about another issue here with birth certificates and even passports. What if my name doesn't match what's on my passport or on my birth certificate? So, maybe you got married, you did a legal name change, you got a divorce, whatever the case may be, you can still travel with those documents, but here's the thing. You need to bring how you arrived at that name with you. So if you got married, you're going to need to bring your official marriage license with you. If you got divorced, you're going to have to bring that divorce decree with you. If you did a name change, you're going to have to bring that paperwork, the court-issued paperwork saying I had a name change with you. You can never bring enough documentation with you to support your identification. You do not want to get turned away at the port and miss your cruise. So the more you bring, the better when you have issues like this. All right, if you are traveling with a child who is not your biological child, so a niece, a nephew, a grandchild, whatever the case may be, and the parent is not with you on that trip, you need to bring a notarized document with permission from the legal parents stating that they are allowed to travel with you on this trip. I would get copies of their license and everything else to bring with you as well, and make sure that they're hot and ready by the phone when you get on that cruise, just in case you have any issues. Again, this is another situation where too much documentation is not enough. So make sure that you have all that documentation with you when you go. Doing something outside of a closed loop cruise where you are going to be traveling over, say, to the Mediterranean or any place else in the world, you are going to need a passport. So, and the important part about this passport is there are several countries out there that require you to have 6 months of validity on the front end and the back end of your passport. So in other words, when you return back home from the trip, you have to have at least 6 months of your passport validity left. And when you go there, you have to have had the passport for at least 6 months. There are several countries out there that do require that. So make sure that you plan your overseas trip accordingly. Also, you want to check with the countries that you're visiting to see if you're required to do a travel visa. You may have to apply for a travel visa too. That's a pretty simple process that you do online most of the time. But that is something that you, when you go overseas, you want to plan for accordingly, and you will need that passport. So again, I just want to emphasize to you that I really highly suggest doing a passport. You're doing this cruise, you're doing this trip now. In 10 years, you're going to want to do other trips, you want to do other cruises, and the ease of having that passport is so vital. It's just, you just whip it out and there you go. And then God forbid if something happens while you're on, even on a closed loop cruise, if you're in the Bahamas and you get sick or someone gets sick back home, there's an emergency and you need to fly back home, you're going to have a very difficult time flying with a birth certificate and an ID as compared to a passport. With the passport, you can just get your plane ticket and go. You will have trouble if you do the birth certificate and ID. You're going to have to go probably to the embassy there at the U.S. Embassy at the country that you're in and try to work around it to get your flights there. So having a passport is just, you know, it's like the best thing ever. It's a security blanket, and it's just a wonderful thing, and it's good for 10 years. You cannot beat it. Even with the kids at 5 years, you just cannot beat having that passport. And I'm telling you, getting off a big cruise and going out the debarkation with that simple process that they have at most ports now, I'm telling you, it's a lifesaver. You really don't even have to pull your passports out. You just keep them in your pocket, look in the camera, and you're out the door. So, you know, they may require you for additional screening and things like that. You may have to show it, but for the most part, the new technology is just, you know, simply amazing. Get a passport, invest in a passport. Currently, as of this recording, I looked it up, and the processing time for the passports are 4 to 6 weeks. So that is down, probably because they've opened up the online passport renewal service. So that may be lessening some of the processing time for some of the passports. When you're doing your packing, you definitely want to make sure the very first thing that you have out, when we get ready for our cruise, the very first thing I put out is our passports and any other documentation that we need. I put it on the counter with my car keys and everything else. It's sitting right there. That's before I pack a sock in my suitcase. That documentation is the first thing that I pull out and have ready to go. And I suggest you do this very same thing. All right, so I hope you found this information helpful. Get that passport. And if we can help you book that dream vacation, give us a call at 877-697-4470. Or you can book right online, www.mr-traveler.com. Thank you so much for the love and support. We'll see you next time. Life's short. Have fun. See the world, guys. Bye, everybody.